This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and we have a great guest today. We have with us Alex Portera, who is the CEO and founder of Rally On Media, a company that makes videos for all kinds of purposes, but including frequently regulated investment crowdfunding campaigns. So this is going to be an important discussion for our entrepreneurs in the crowd. So stick around. You don't want to miss this one. Alex, welcome to the show.
Devin, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. You know, an effective video is just a vital part of a crowdfunding campaign. I know I've made dozens and dozens of investments via regulated investment crowdfunding. Talk about it all the time. Whenever there's a video, the first thing I do when I'm interested in a crowdfunding campaign is to watch the video. Say, you know, I'm lazy. Like, just explain, give me the pitch, right? Why is that? Why is that our brains work in that way? That video is such an important part of messaging a story and communicating the pitch for investors?
It's a great question. I mean, there's a video is like a comprehensive media format, right? Where you are seeing, you are hearing, and then most importantly, you are feeling in a way that's very different than from just reading something. And so I think the video is so important because it's your opportunity to kind of showcase like your best. You know, who is the team? It's an opportunity to show off your personality. It's an opportunity to show off how well you can tell your story and sell the opportunity that you're presenting to your investors. And I think that, you know, when you create a video and you tell it well, you are in a very succinct way giving people kind of the 80-20 of what they need to know about this opportunity. And then, you know, when people need to go finish that 20% of their research, they go into the page, they might read the Form C, they might show up to a webinar. But you can communicate so much in a very short amount of time with a well-produced, well-told, well-produced video.
You know, I think you're right. You can just cram so much information, meaning, and the energy into that discussion, into that video. How do you make a video? Coach us.
Yeah, well, I would also say you can cram so much, but what we really try and do is actually not cram so much. We want to cram a lot of impact without cramming too much information, because I think a common mistake is trying to put too much information within a video to try and communicate too many points. And so our goal is to communicate the right points, the key points that really convey the most important things that someone needs to know about the opportunity, and mixing that kind of with also the emotional storytelling of the video. And so how do you produce a video? Well, all video production kind of follows the same key steps: pre-production, production, and post-production. The most important thing, pre-production, that's where we're doing the story development. We're figuring out what the visuals are going to be. We're planning our production. That is, for us, the number one most important thing. I got my start in video really filming on an iPhone. I didn't have enough money to afford camera gear. And so I was posting content on social media and I was using my phone, and I said, you know what? It's fine. And this was when iPhones were a lot worse than they are today. And I said, if I can tell a really great story, I bet people will care. And over the course of 2 years, using my iPhone for the first half of that, I built up an audience of about 250,000 people who were following the content that I was posting online. And these were like 10-minute long documentaries on Facebook, which is not exactly what people expect to see on social media. And so through that, I learned, first and foremost, what you need is a great story. And then the gear comes on. So when we produce a professional video, first and foremost, it's really getting that story right. Then we think about, okay, what's the production look like, and how do we make this look professional? How do we make our clients look like they are people who are trustworthy stewards of your investment capital if you're investing in them? So we have like typically a day of production, and then we go off and we edit that into, it depends, but a 2 to 3 minute pitch video and a number of other assets where our, companies can express kind of what makes their offering interesting.
That's such a great approach. I think, that you've kind of hit on the essential element, right? Is the story. And I think all of us, when we're trying to describe what we do, we know too much. We know everything. And it's hard for us to tell our story because we have this huge encyclopedic knowledge of what we have done, what we hope to do, and what we plan to do, and what we are doing. And it all is in a big jumble in our minds. How do you extract a story that is compelling?
That's a great question. And, it's funny because right now I've been asked quite a lot to share what Rallion does. I've been kind of like in a lot of elevator pitch situations, and I struggle with this for my own company as well. My job is to help other companies tell their story, and I struggle with it so much with Rallion more than anything else because I am so, in the thick of it. When we do this with our clients, we have a very specific process that we go through. We call it story finding. And it's a real deep dive into the company where we ask all of these different questions that we know will kind of get us the information, that the kind of raw materials that we need to create a story. And then from there, it's a process of synthesizing. It's a process of kind of like researching what's out on the market. It's also a process of like really honestly listening to like my body. When I do one of these story finding sessions, I'm listening to my body and saying, in what moments do I suddenly feel excited? In what moments do I feel maybe a lump in my throat for something that was particularly emotional? What are those things where I just have a visceral reaction? Because very often those signals are actually the things that are going to be most powerful when we tell the story in the future, because it's our first reaction to hearing the story. And so we are fresh, just like any potential investor is going to be as well. And so we kind of hold on to those moments and make sure we don't just let them get drowned out by all of the other noise or all the other information that's being shared with us in that moment. And so there's kind of a few different ways. We know there's certain things we want to hit on. We want to hit on the team's history. We want to hit on the product. We want to hit on the problem and the solution and the plans. But beyond those kind of like core pieces of the story that almost every investment pitch needs, in my opinion, we're looking for those moments where it's like, we get excited. We love this, because the more that we kind of fall in love with the opportunity, the better we are at helping an entrepreneur tell their story.
It really is just that story is just absolutely essential. But after you get the story in mind, the process of capturing it can be really challenging. And, let's be real. Not everyone is going to be able to afford you. What tips would you give to someone who's got an iPhone or a decent Samsung with decent cameras? How do you make a video production wise after you've got the story? How do you produce something that feels professional instead of amateurish?
Let me tell you exactly how to do it. And it'll cost you, I don't know, depends on who's editing it, but gear wise, maybe $200. If you have $200 to spare, that's what I'd recommend. So first and foremost, right, we're telling the story. What I do when we are telling the story is we write a script, and we use something called a 2-column format, an audio visual script. In one column, we have the story that we're telling, and then that's the audio column, which is the voiceover, which is what the entrepreneur is going to be reading. And then we have the visual column, and we kind of just list out what we want to be seeing associated with those, with that audio. That gives us an idea of, okay, what do we actually need to capture on the day of the production? So we build out a plan for that day. Now, as we're getting ready for the day of production, you have a phone. Phones are great quality. You can absolutely film with that. You want to do a few things to slightly elevate your production. Number one, you probably want to have someone there to help film it for you. Number two, you can probably get a really cheap tripod on Amazon for when you're like giving the pitch portion of the video. You can also get a really cheap microphone. That's going to be a lot better than the audio on your phone or in your headphones. Just get like a little lapel mic that you can attach to your phone that you can read into. And then you also want to make sure you're filming in a place where you have decent natural lighting. I'm lit by a window right now. I've kind of got what's called Rembrandt lighting. So I've got this little triangle here, which is a style of cinematic lighting for production. And so you kind of like get the basics of the gear. You start the day by filming your pitch and just like basically, if you have it fully scripted, maybe you have it kind of like as a teleprompter on your computer or someone's like holding up cue cards, whatever it is, or you have like the key notes of what you want to say and you're just more riffing. Now, of course, whenever you do a regulated investment crowdfunding video, the keyword in that piece is regulated. And so you want to make sure you're following, all the compliance guidelines about what you can and cannot say in your pitch. But if you have that in mind and you kind of know what you can and cannot say, you can riff a bit as well. That's like kind of the first part of the day. And then the second part of the day is trying to film and show off what it is that you do. So if you make a product, you want to show the product and how it's used. If you have a manufacturing facility, show that off, show the scope of your operation. You want to make people understand what it is exactly that you do. If it's a service, depending on what that service is, if it's in the real world, you can show it off. If it's more digital, can you somehow have some screen recordings or things that show off the product or service? That often takes us a full day to kind of get all of that. And then you take that and you need to edit it. Editing, I think, is something that's worth finding someone to do. If you are cash strapped, go on Upwork or Fiverr and find someone to do it there. And you just give them a very clear plan, give them your script, give them your footage, and let them know exactly what you want. And you'll have a video in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's. I really appreciate you walking us through that outline because it's something that almost anyone can do, right? Following that procedure, you could get for a few $100 a great quality video, I think. So that's great. Give us a sense, if you can, of the folks that you can be the most help to. What a budget for a good film, for your service. Give us some sense of who you think is a good fit and what that budget might be.
Yeah. So we are typically looking to work with companies that are looking to raise at least $500,000 in order to make like our services worth it on the video side of things. The companies that we can most help, we work with a lot of companies. The companies that typically struggle to tell their story the most are companies that are going to be in the world of medicine, biotech companies, med device companies, things like that, where it's highly technical. The founder might be an engineer or a physician. And so it takes a lot of work to kind of bring the story up to a level where anyone can understand. But we also work with, if you have a large community that you want to tap into, and, a video is going to go a really long way towards helping people understand you when they love your product already, but they don't know who you are necessarily. We're working with a company right now that is a consumer facing soap company, and we have been working with them to tell their story, and they raised $500,000 in a month, less than a month, actually. And so really we can work with anyone. It's kind of just what your approach is and how much you have on the budget side of things. To work with us, the kind of average price that we have right now, as of this recording, is around $10,000 for the campaign video and a few other assets as well. Our pricing kind of goes up to like $15,000, and then it can go much more if a company is looking to work with us on this crowdfunding campaign, and they also might want to create some assets to use for their general marketing for their company. And so we often do that. If you're shelling out some money to make a crowdfunding campaign video, why not invest a little bit more and get some assets that you can use well beyond the crowdfunding campaign to just grow your business? So that's very common as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think it's video is such a powerful way to communicate. It's why I've been doing my show in a video format since the first episode over a decade ago. Right? 1,500 episodes in the can, and every one of them video. I wish I'd talked to you before.
Seems like you've got this under
No,
control.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm learning a lot. I'm sitting here taking notes. So I'm going to go back and spend more time watching and listening from the master here. So, Alex, thank you very much. Listen, everyone, we're here with Alex Portera, who is the CEO of Rally On Media, and he makes a lot of videos for regulated investment crowdfunding campaigns, and including some great impact crowdfunders that have been very successful. So it's just been a great conversation. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to Alex about his superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this.
You can get in on the ground floor to help fix the climate crisis for as little as $100. Pause now to scan the QR code to get started, or visit s4g.biz/raisegreen. You can be a green at Raise Green.
Want to learn from the world's great changemakers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Hope to raise money from the impact crowd. Good investors are as interested in community, social or environmental impact as you. Connect with Funding Hope, an SEC-registered FINRA member crowdfunding portal, to learn how to raise capital from the impact crowd. Scan the QR code now.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm here today with Alex Portera, who's the CEO of Rally On Media. We've been talking about his services around video production for regulated investment crowdfunding campaigns, and he's given us some great tips on how to produce videos. If you missed the first half of the show, I encourage you to go back and watch it because it's great, invaluable stuff. But we're going to shift gears now and talk to Alex about his superpowers. So stick around. You don't want to miss this. Alex, you're a rock star. Well, I should really say you're a movie star, big time movie producer. What is your superpower?
I think it's taken a bit of time to really dial it in, but I really do think taking a lot of information and distilling it down into something simple, easy to understand, and compelling in a story format is really what my superpower is. I think, I spent years, I started my career as a management consultant, and my job was to like basically take the information my team gave me, run analysis on it, produce a bunch of pitch decks. And so it was like kind of the base level of storytelling in these like large corporate projects I was on. And at some point while I was there, I got connected with one of the top partners in the firm, and he was producing a series of reports about the biggest global changes that were happening at that time. And I became his copywriter. And so I would go on these interviews with heads of state and CEOs of multinational corporations, and basically I would just like listen in on the interview, and then afterward, zero direction, I would kind of go off and write what the kind of story was that we were hearing about, where the world is going. And basically those were like launched without any editing. And at that point, this partner said, like, this is what you should be doing. And so after I left Deloitte and got into filmmaking, it was this every single day, meeting people, understanding what they're about, and then trying to convey that in a way that people can understand and that people can connect with. I mentioned before I was doing kind of the crowdfunding video creation, I was a content creator, and that content creation was documentaries about everyday people around New York City, where I live, and around the world. And I would spend a day with them, filming all day long, capturing 6 hours of footage. And then I would cut that down into a 3 to 10 minute documentary that I'd post on Facebook. And the goal there was, to help people really connect with someone who is going through our trash outside to collect the bottles and cans to recycle to make some money, or the person playing the guitar on the subway, or a street vendor from Mexico selling tamales, all these people that you see in a city on a daily basis. And we really learned at that time, like how to kind of really get to the heart of a story. And honestly, part of that process, it kind of ties to what I was saying, what we do in the story finding session, which is like our goal is to always fall in love with the people that we are filming with, the story that we were trying to tell. What is it about this that deeply connects with us or connects with me on a human level? For the stories I was just mentioning, that was like a very human interest piece of just like what is inspiring about this individual. And it actually is the same for the companies I work with. And so really a lot of my focus is on how do we really take the world of options, because there's infinite ways to tell any one story, and try and find the most compelling one, or at least one of the most compelling ones. You can never know. And what's interesting is I'm training a new copywriter on our team today, and we have an entire course that we built inside of our business for how we want stories to be told. And this person has hired, he's run his kind of own copywriting agency in the past. And he asked me this morning, he said, why did you make this course and when did you make it? And his point, he was like, I just used to send my copywriters to this course that I bought. And I said, because we have this because I care deeply about this, and I have a very specific way of how I want it done. And I want everyone on our team to be on the same page there. And so, yeah, this is really kind of what we focus on.
So you've got this superpower of distilling a story, which is really, I think, an amazing superpower. As you think about that, can you think of a specific story sort of that you discovered that was particularly challenging, but in the end, the storytelling you did was especially effective?
Yeah, one of my favorite stories that we've told recently is for a company called Epi1, and they are a company raising capital right now on Start Engine. Maybe their campaign's about to close, but they are a company that helps has a way for detecting cancer early. And when I met the founder, Michael, he told me his story. He's the former chairman of the board of the American Cancer Society. His first wife died from cancer when he was much younger, and he's a corporate CEO. He's been on the boards of many companies, and he was telling us a story about what he's doing, and it was such a personal story where the impact of what he's doing is also so global and so important that I really connected with it, and I went incredibly deep to make sure that we really communicated it in the most compelling way possible, because I really believe in it. I actually invested in that campaign. And when I think about that, it's like this great mix of the like business strategy of what they're doing and how they're doing it, with the personal of like, why does this even matter? And why is this the person to actually be doing this?
That's a great example. I love that. That Epi1 story is compelling. I've been looking at that deal. So very, very great storytelling. Great job on that one. I didn't know when I became familiar with Epi1 that you were behind it. Very cool stuff. Listen, you said you did a course on storytelling. We don't have time for the course. We only have time for the 1-minute version. What's the 1-minute version? How to tell the story?
1 minute. Find what's the number one most exciting, interesting thing about this company. Make sure you start your story with that. Then, as you write the rest of the story, make sure you know exactly the 5 to 7 key points that you need to communicate, and then piece the puzzle together of what's the best order to present them, so that everything builds on what you said previously, makes sense coming next, and like ultimately makes you feel something at the very end. That's probably the quickest I could tell you how to make a story, but
excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
That's what I'll give you.
We've got just 30 seconds. How can people get in touch with you, learn more, contact you, get a quote from you? What's the best way? How can they follow you on social media, et cetera, et cetera?
The best place, I post content on LinkedIn about storytelling, about fundraising, about video creation. So Alex Portera on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me at ola@rallyonmedia.com. And I think those are going to be the best ways to get in touch. Would love to hear from you.
Fantastic. Well, Alex, thank you so much for being with us today. We love what you're doing to help social entrepreneurs, especially raise capital from the crowd. We want to see you succeed. We wish you every success.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, Devin. This was fun.
All righty. Thanks for being with us. Now, let's do some good.